Our purpose at WE is to change the dismal statistics of our people, particularly Māori and Pasifika people. We do this through helping small and medium-sized businesses to thrive. Our businesses need our help. So many have felt the pressures of lockdown and are facing challenges that they've never faced before. Challenges that are impacting their livelihoods. That is why we're bringing you this series to share stories of the people behind our businesses, their successes, their failures, their challenges, and their triumphs.
If you are already in business, we hope you will be inspired. Perhaps someone will share one piece of gold that makes a difference in your business. If you've been thinking about starting a business, we hope that you will be motivated to start your own business venture.
We hope that by sharing these stories, we can help small businesses on the road to recovery all across New Zealand, Australia, and the Pacific.
So grab your cup of tea and whakarongo mai.
Kia ora te whanau mai, haere mai, welcome to our cup of tea. Today we have with us Michael Moka. So Michael Moka comes to us from Indigenous Growth. He also spoke for our rangatahi at St. Peter's College. I think it was last year, so I'm really pleased to have him speaking with us today to talk about business. So thank you so much, Mike, for coming along and being with us.
Hi, Mauri ora te whānau. Thank you very much for the invite there, Wendy.
So tell us a little bit about Indigenous Growth. What does Indigenous Growth do?
Hi, tēnā tātou. In terms of Indigenous Growth, my wife and I, we founded it on the 1st of November, back 2013. And very similar to the video there, we wanted to conquer the poverty cycle for any of those who actually want to get out. So how do we do that? Well, we go in there and we go into mainstream organisations mainly to try and create an environment. So we help organisations create an environment where Māori, Pacific and other Indigenous people can thrive, because 95% of our people don't make it past frontline supervisor or don't even make it to middle management. And therefore through that, we've actually created an Indigenous leadership development organisation where we get to develop the leadership capability of our people using Indigenous principles and combining it with executive principles or leadership principles as well. So bringing both the Indigenous and mainstream lens together for our people. So that's quite an exciting space to be in.
That sounds really awesome, because one of the things that I know about being a Māori woman is that when you go into some of these spaces, you drop your culture at the door and you're a whole new person inside the corporate world. And I think that it's detrimental not only to ourselves as individuals, but also to the company, because there's so much that we can offer as Māori and Pacifica people, and what we bring if we're just listened to and heard, and then things are changed and implemented, can actually be really good for everybody involved.
Yeah, so about 20, maybe 30 years ago, our business probably wouldn't be relevant because they wanted people like themselves. So hence the reason why the executive team all look the same and the management team all look the same. And even when our people would get into those roles, we all had to speak the same language. Now, and from 2010 onwards, actually it's our differences, that's where the diversity of thoughts come in. So when a lot of people have left who they are at home, now they're being asked, can you bring your Māori self to work? When, at school, primary school, being Māori was just, can you help with the pōwhiri? Never actually helped during school or your schooling, your subjects, etc. Then went to university, and then, being Māori never helped with your education. Then went to work, and they never said, your Māori side never really helped, or your Pacific side. Then, about 2010, then they just started saying, hey, can you start bringing your Māori self to work? And my reply was, well, I don't know how, because all the systems in here teaches me how to be a good Pākehā. Right? So how do what do you mean by me bringing my Māori self to work? I don't know how to do that. Can you help me?
Okay, now this is going to be a really big question, and I know that you've got a program that's going to help with this. So just maybe 1 or 2 tips on how someone does be Māori or Pacifica and bring that to the table. Like for someone who's been brought up, and I was brought up the same, I was told that my language wasn't important. I still am told that, actually, if I'm honest. You know, and that my culture isn't important. And, you know, I was taken out of Taranaki and dropped into Auckland for a better life, you know, an opportunity, but in a white world. So, you know, for anyone that's listening that is feeling that way, what's something that you could give to them today that maybe be able to help them to start their journey of self-discovery and how to bring themselves to the table?
Well, I think that the biggest thing when you go into the work world is that, you know, the smart thing to do is you find somebody who's a leader and you go, okay, if I want to succeed, I need to just copy the blueprint. And if they don't have leaders that are like you with your type of upbringing, you're going to try to be a B version of somebody else. So always the top tip is in regards to before you can lead others, you need to be able to lead yourself. Take care of yourself. Look after your well-being. Have more energy. Connect with your family. You know, be an authentic person on who you are. Because a lot of the reasons why people leave themselves at the, you know, at home, leave their whole selves at home, is because they're just too tired. They're too tired to constantly fight and struggle. You know, we have organizations, we send our contracts out in Māori and English. It's an official language. Every legal team comes back to us, okay, oh, can we have the dominant language being English, please? You know, because none of us we don't have any te reo Māori. And I'm like, well, what if all my legal team was all in te reo Māori? So the trying to implement that change is spend time to take care of yourself. If anybody's heard of the whare tapa whā, yourself, spiritually, emotionally, physically, but also connect to who you are. So figure out what are some values that can help you, that you can take into work. Because when people see you energetic, people of other cultures will go, wow, I want what he's got. And that's when you can start sharing your culture.
That was a really beautiful way of answering that very how long is a piece of string question.
Exactly.
Because I know that it's not as simple as just a quick answer, but that is definitely something that we can start to do straight away.
Yeah. Well, what we're trying to do in organizations is get the organizations to start building the well-being of our people. Right? Because you spend most of your time at work. If everybody's trying to do it outside of work, they give up. But if there's a space to do it at work as well, and as part of your everyday 9 to 5, then it becomes a lot more integrated in the approach.
Yep, so true. Okay, so who was Michael Moka before business? And I know that you've got a very interesting story as a teenager and your upbringing and your education. So share a little bit of that with us tonight.
Oh, yes. Well, my pepeha ko te ramaroa te maunga hoki anga te moana, ngā tuki mata whauro te waka, ngā hau te hapu, ngā puhi tōku iwi, a moka taku whānau Michael tōku ingoa, a tēnā tātou katoa. So my name is Michael Moka. In terms of my whakapapa, I'm from all over the north. So Ngāti Hine or Te Waiariki, Ngāti Hau, Ngā Puhi, Te Rarawa, and also Mangaia in the Cook Islands. So my grandfather, who's from the Pukino whānau in the Cook Islands. So yes, whakapapa, ancestry, all up the north, in the far north in the Cook Islands, but I'm about third generation urban migration. So therefore, born and raised out here in West Auckland, in the stereotypical Māori statistics of gangs, drugs, alcohol, domestic violence. So I was brought up with all of that, to the point that my wife and I, my now wife, my partner, when I was about 14, we were over it in both of our environments. We ran away and we just started putting ourselves through school and through university and really going against So we like to challenge the norm. So everybody saw us finish school, go to uni, get a job, start our own business. People think we're goody two-shoes, but actually we did that to rebel on what was our norm. So yeah, it's something that we weren't really big fans of our type of environments. We're told at 15 to leave school. So I know a lot of our kids are having that struggle now because of COVID, leave school to pay the bills, to help the family. And we decided to take a different route. We're very angry. I was angrier. That's how I started achieving my goals until one day I woke up and realized that my parents actually done the best with what they got. They just didn't know any different. And they all had jobs and they weren't having fun at jobs, at their work, working 50, 60, 70 plus hours a week on minimum wage. Anytime I would ask them how's work, the answers would be work is work. Another day, another dollar. Thank God it's Friday. The only time I saw them happy were at the parties. So we realized, wow, if they don't even love work and that's our only viable option to earn an honest living, you wonder why people, turn to crime, give up school, trying to find an alternate route because our people aren't even making it. And that's kind of like the essence. That's everything before by when we actually started or why we started Indigenous Growth in the first place.
Yeah, that's really powerful. We've got to change that cycle. And kudos to you for doing that, because there will be many teenagers who had similar upbringings who decided to go down the same path as their role models, their parents in life. So was there something in particular that had happened, or was there something in particular that was that turning point for you that meant, actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to rebel and go down this road as well. I'm going to go and get educated and I'm going to do something different. Was there something that happened in particular?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I'm the youngest of my dad's children. So I saw the route, the pathway that was given to us and didn't like it. But the big thing that happened is that I actually had to step in. So I was 14. I was a big boy, about 130, 40 kilos. I'm a wuss. I'm a wimp. I've never had any. So I'm the youngest, right? Highly protected. The only ones that beat me up were my siblings. And that's because I didn't really defend myself. But there was just one day when I had to actually step in when there was violence at home. And realize the power that I actually had, and just to defend my mum and my sister and all of that stuff. And then that was the day that I was gone, because I was over. So in terms of the real tipping point, something that had to go, it was when you're a 14-year-old having to grow up and be older than you should have been, and you're protecting the woman and all the women in your life. Just like, nah, I'm over it. And I'm not going to do what everybody else did, because I already see that it's a place that I didn't want to be. So the only thing that nobody did was finish school. So I thought, well, I've got to give that a crack, because nobody else is. Maybe that's a path.
Well, first of all, can I just say thank you for sharing that, because that's showing real vulnerability and telling truth that sometimes we don't want to share, because I know that sometimes we can feel guilt and shame towards things that have happened in our upbringing. So, try to hide it and not share it. So first of all, just thank you for that. And, one of the people that I have interviewed were talking about going from adversity to opportunity. And it sounds like that's exactly what you've done. You've taken your adversity in life, and then you've completely switched that around. And, you're providing opportunity, not just for you, just for your family, but for so many other people because of what you've been through in your life. So I've always loved your work and I've applauded it. And we're in the middle of our thing, but I just really wanted to acknowledge you for that.
Kia ora. No, well, I'm still a big softie and a wimp, but I've got a really strong wife. So I don't have to fight those battles anymore since me and her went together. She's able to do all of that stuff now. She's small, but she can take on the world, all the physical stuff.
Feisty.
Yeah, she's feisty. She still scares me in a good way.
So tell me, how has life changed for you since getting into education and going into business?
Yeah, what I noticed, I always thought education was the key. What I really realized is the longer I stayed in school, the more I was surrounded by higher achievers, right? So even at year 13, everybody who stayed was there for a purpose. So you had the prefects, even the guys who mucked around, they were still sports stars. You know, like all the year 13 had a reason why they stayed, whether they're academic, they're in there for the performing arts. Same as university. So I went to the University of Auckland and I was at the business school, and they go, what is the greatest thing you got out of it? I got 50 Māori friends. And all of them had similar stories, and now they're lawyers and architects and surgeons and business people. And now I keep going to our people. I can speak in front of tens of thousands of people, but I find networking very hard, especially when you come from a big family. Going out there to meet new people is not a good thing. So if anybody ever sees me in anything, I usually just stay in the corner until somebody talks to me. Then I talk to them for the whole night. So I try not to let them go. But I always say, if you don't go to those places, you better be good at networking, right? Like if you're going to just quit and get a job, you better be good at networking, because a lot of the networking in that has just changed who I am. So like we're thinking about it. My wife and I, we just had our newborn. I done good, 17 minutes, and I haven't even mentioned my son, right? But we're first-time parents, and he's just over 3 months old. And, you know, he can be in a whole community. He can have all these aunties and uncles and in the world that we're in, and not even have any experience around drugs, alcohol, gangs, like the bubble that we're in now. Unless I purposely go in to serve our people that's in that bubble, it's not even around. Where it was such a rare moment if you're in our family. So before they would go, oh, what about when you wake up in the real world and it's all around you? Where now his real world, it's not even there. You know, there's so many people that are, you know, you come in and you don't even have to put the parents down. You can speak love into your child. You can, so, you know, we're probably those positive ones that people get really annoyed with. They just love life, and we wake up and we've got all the direction, and we're running our business and we're serving our people. And so just really, really left field from my wife and I, like our upbringing. I think for about 4 years, maybe about 5 years now, we've been totally out of that poverty cycle.
Yeah, that's awesome. Which brings me to a question that we sort of talked about before we went on record was, you know, we are servants. We like to serve other people, and that's awesome. But sometimes we do that to the detriment of ourselves, either over-serving others and not serving ourselves. And sometimes that comes also in the form of money, which just happens to be our legal tender at the moment. How do you go into business, serve others, but make sure you still are able to bring the putia in at the end of the day and look after yourself, your wife, and your family, but also trying to hold on to that wanting to serve and help other people?
Oh, well, that's so you would know this very well, Wendy. When you start doing well in your craft, everybody starts asking you for your framework, your blueprint, and we literally have one too on how, recording on how we were able to do this. So we get to help our people thrive. And we just had a graduation last Friday down in Wellington for our Māori leadership program for New Zealand Post. And you're seeing them shine in front of their chief executives and, their senior leadership team as they present and push proposals forward. And so we're able to do that and feed our family at the same time. And a lot of it is understanding. So yes, when you're talking about money, the reality is that's a neutral indicator of value. So in their world, if they value it, they pay. And that's the same with us, actually, because we know if we were to buy a really flash thing, we treat it a lot better than if we bought the $5 equivalent. I've seen guys here that purchase like $500 pairs of sneakers, And I'm the $1 like jandals at the warehouse all the time. You know, I work hard for my money. I'm not going to do it all on there. But they'll do that, and then they wash it, and then they clean it, and then they look after their sneakers, and they, you know, and where other people, they'll with shoes that they don't spend money on. So our motto, or, you know, I think that we stand by, is if people can sell these for thousands of dollars, we should be able to look after our family while making a difference, right? Like, we should be able to do that, and there should be a business model. We should be able to solve problems, you know, and be the solution for that. So yeah, if people pay $1,000 for this and make millions and millions of dollars, we should at least be able to feed our family and look after our own well-being at the same time.
I'm going to use that example. Because it's so true. At the drop of a hat, you go buy a new phone and you'll pay thousands of dollars for one.
I know. And then you ask, then you go, oh, hey, pay $200 to, you know, to develop yourself so you can get a promotion. And they're like, well, that is so much. And I'm like, you just spent $1,000. What are you talking about?
And let's be honest, when the next version comes out, you'll go buy that one too.
That's what I mean. And after a month, you know, all this does is take money away from you. It doesn't even bring any money. If you develop yourself, well, anyway, that's my field. That's my conversation. I'm like, what are you doing to develop yourself instead of buying shiny things? Be humble. Be humble.
Well, just invest in yourself too, right?
Yeah.
Just know that's what it's all about. So along your way, who have been some of the people that you've had in your corner, the people who have you've teamed around you to help you to be successful in business?
So my main one obviously is my wife, right? So I have my strengths. I'm very much a dreamer, and going through that. And then I saw a lot of people in there where the man is a successful one or the female. And that's why I make sure I watch your journey, because there's you and your husband. And that's how it's always been. So for my wife and I, it's been us versus the world from 15. She's very much a risk averse. So she can see all the problems that can happen. With my open, I can see all the solutions and being able to do that. So that's the everyday. So the cool thing is we've then had other people who have believed in both of us. So in a program called First Foundation, I had a mentor. He's a Pākehā man, a very wealthy man, and thinking, okay, there's not too much connection. And he just popped all of the bubbles of poverty that I had. He showed me all the possibilities. Like, he was the first person I had ever met that they never cared about food on the table, roof over their head. That was always a given. I'm just like, what? I thought that was a dream. And he goes, what? No, you can't dream. Like, if that's your dream, it's going to stop you from dreaming. You should just think, I'm strong enough to feed my family, have roof, whether I lose my job or not, I'll scratch and claw to make sure that's happened. That shouldn't be my dream. That's a given. So you've had like mentors, like, people that are really outside our bubble. And then I'm a learner. So a lot of, I was in executive education and learning from a lot of the facilitators, etc. from that. And then just the people, most of them are non-Māori, because when you're somebody who doesn't really have a whakapapa that you can go back to, they don't know who you are, where you come from, who your family is, right? So that's always the ticket in for Māori kaupapa. If you're someone, it's so much easier to get through the door. If you're no one, then you better have a good story, or they better come across you to be emotionally invested. They don't normally just go, get out of the way. There's just nothing that's going to attract them to this poor little hoary, over there. But yeah, a lot of non-Māori have really, that's what I love about it. They don't care who you are, where you come from. They just take you purely just for face value. If you're a dreamer and they believe in those dreams, they hop in. So we've had people like Jilna Wong from the business school. He's the deputy associate professor and the dean. We've had Angus Fletcher. my tuakana. So there's one Māori guy, and we've gone through the same thing. Dan Walker, so he's been there. Community people like Hinemo Ki. All right, so we've just had so much whānau that kind of just believed in my wife and because we're willing to tell those stories. So that's kind of everybody and very few at the same time. You know, it's always been my wife, us versus the world.
Well, you need to have the right people, and you don't want to have, you don't want to have width without any depth. So if you've got the depth, then that's what you really need.
Yeah, exactly.
So along this journey, your wife and yourselves together against the world, what are some of the other challenges that you guys have faced together in business, and how have you overcome them?
Yeah, everyone sees. So we're doing quite well now, in terms of the business. We have about 12 people that we genuinely take care of. We've got staff and casual staff and kaumātua and queer. We've had lawsuits against us, which has been quite difficult over Indigenous principles. So that's been different to navigate. And then there's not many Māori IP lawyers, so they already got the one Māori IP lawyer that's out there. So we had to go to the Pākehā one. It was amazing and really reinforced the fact that we didn't actually do anything wrong. But that's kind of like a big business versus small business. So when you don't know that stuff and you're just trying to fight it, and we're like, no, I can't be doing it wrong. We got it from the marae, we got it from our kaumātua, all of that stuff. But we didn't have the infrastructure, we didn't have the support things that we're supposed to have. And then as soon as we found it, so we've been going through the struggle for about 2.5 years, and it only took 2 weeks of having a proper lawyer to sort it out. And we're like, oh, so you got things like that. The big thing for me, that's probably my biggest thing, is we've got staff who, like they're all parents. So now we have to earn enough to make sure that they can feed their family now. So it's a huge responsibility. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not a business owner, not even a manager. I don't even know how to do one-on-ones, and I'm learning all of that type of stuff. I give so much towards our team, so all of those basics, I don't have that. I'm just like, we started our business. We want to start a couple of more. I'm an entrepreneur, but I know that I can't just, with my wife and I, it's us. Whatever happens, that's what's going to happen. We'll always come through. But now we have, we've got mums, we've got dads. Everybody has a family that we now have to make sure that we earn enough to make sure that they can feed their families. So that's probably, for me, been the biggest challenge emotionally. And then with COVID happening, if I wasn't so frugal with our money, I always made sure, well, hey, now we've got to look after them. I always make sure there's 12 months worth of salary in there for our people, in the future. So lucky that's happened, or else they would have been just like other people who didn't have jobs now. Even for our casual workers, we were able to continue to pay them throughout the COVID time. The wage subsidy helped as well, but that's probably been the biggest growth challenge, is now we're expanding. We're not just looking for job descriptions, we're looking after families too. So big responsibility. And I think I'm the youngest in the team too, so I'm like, come on.
Oh, that's great. But just something that you said that is so important, that I think COVID should have taught everybody. I think some people have listened, some people potentially haven't. But having money in the bank to be able to pay expenses, wages, or whatever for an extended period of time, so important, especially since we don't know if we're going to end up in another lockdown again. Are we going to all get closed up again? How long is that going to be for? Can you sustain another 7 weeks, 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks? What if we end up in a recession and you don't end up, getting the sales targets that you want? Can you afford to go on? And it's so important. I'm glad that you raised that today about having that money sitting inside your bank, because livelihoods are at stake, not just your own as a business owner, but those of the lives of the people that are serving you and your customers that you're doing. So important. So Mike, before we finish up for the day, is there anything else that you'd like to leave our listeners with before we close up for this session?
Yeah, I think if we're going on the entrepreneurial business owner route, I get a lot of people that come up to us like, hey, what do I have to do? And I always think you really have to watch your intention in terms of coming into the entrepreneur and business owner. I'm not here to stop anybody from doing it, but if you've got reasons like, I don't want to work for my boss anymore. Well, hey, just in case you want to know, every client then becomes your boss. So either work for one you don't like, or every other client, will become your boss. So you have hundreds of bosses. If it's something like, I want to have more freedom, well, man, you can either quit your 40-hour job, and at least for the first 5 years, you're going to be working 100 hours at least. And that's if you're passionate. And some other people, they come up to me and they go, I'm just really passionate about this, which means I love it. I love it more than I like it. And my thing, and I'm all about the why and the passion. But we deal with a lot of people that want to start their own businesses, and they're passionate. You also have to be obsessed. It literally has to be something that when you got spare time, that's what you want to work on. When your kids are asleep, that's what you want to work on. It's not one of those, I need more time. Like if we get so much of our fun, I want to do this, so it frees me up more time to help in my community and my church and my, and it's just like, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen if you want a sustainable long-term business and you're the starter of that. Or like if those are the intentions, then I would say try get a job, try get a career in that job, work hard, develop yourself, get promoted, start earning more income. You will get more freedom in that way. Mm-hmm. But if you're truly passionate and truly obsessed with making the difference that you want to make, I've got a good idea. No, you have to be truly obsessed about that idea and willing to do whatever it takes to push it over the line, because you really want to make that difference in that why. That's how you're going to last or thrive after 5 years. Right? Last thing you want to do is just try to get a job, because it's so much, it's a lot of unnecessary work if you're not passionate about it. So I get there with a lot of our whānau, and I'm going, hey, get ready for the grind, be obsessed. That you're going to have to do all of this stuff, right? Because a lot of people see our, the fact that we've done really, really well. We have staff. My wife and I can travel before lockdown, obviously. We could have time for ourselves and that, but that's on the, that's an outcome of the type of groundwork, and how we've done it is it's rare. Like we're 1% of businesses that have been able to create a 6-7 figure business doing that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. All right, so we really need to be prepared, and then just like what Wendy says, come find us. There's people over here that can be mentors. That have gone through, find a pathway, and then you just got to really, really dig in. So that's probably my last message to those inspiring or aspiring business owners and entrepreneurs.
Yeah, that's really good. I think just from what I took from that, people, they go into business because they want more time, but the truth is you have less time. And yes, you get to go and watch your son play rugby or soccer, or, watch their haka performance, or, go to their school recital or whatever. But that's an hour that you make up later on.
Yes.
You're getting to bed early that night, and you want more money. Well, sorry, but you ain't getting any money for quite some time, because actually you're not going to get wage. So be prepared for that, to not make enough money. People they start a business and then they're at the cafes thinking, oh yeah, great, I'm in business, I got my own time now, and then nothing happens with their business and wonder why.
Yes, not to discourage people. The benefits, especially if you're doing something you're truly passionate, outweighs everything. So I'll never go back to another job. But if those are the reasons why you want to get in there, for a bit more freedom, a bit more time, and thinking money is just going to get there so you can enjoy time at the beach, yeah, that's probably, you can achieve a lot more of that if you just work hard, get promoted, be so good they can't ignore you, so you can ask for less hours and get paid more. You know, like that route is more of a achievable route in the next 10, 15 years than the entrepreneurial or business route. And you know what I'm talking about too, Wendy.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Thank you so much for sharing your story, and also just for being really honest about your journey. I think sometimes we can look at business owners and businesses that are doing well, like yourself, and probably potentially what people look at, like Ellie and I, and they just think, oh, look at them, they're traveling all over the world and everything's going great. And Danny is like, I still face challenges. I still got problems. You know, I'm still working my ass off. You know, nothing changes, and so that is the reality of business, like you said. But it can be very rewarding if you want to put the time and the effort into it. Reinvest your money back into your business as well. But then there's also massive responsibilities, like the people that you have in your team, making sure that you can pay their wages every single week, every single fortnight.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yes, I must say there have been times I've been like, how on earth are we going to do that this week?
Yeah.
All right, Michael, once again, thank you so much for having a korero with us, having a cup of tea. You're very inspiring. I love the work that you're doing. Very disappointed to hear that someone decided to take you to court over your IP, but hey, look, potentially their own challenges and their own issues. It's not really anything to do with you.
Yeah, just another good story we can tell.
All right, whānau, so tomorrow night we have with us Anal, who comes to us from Four Shells Kava Room, and we're going to talk about kava, which is really exciting. So I'll see you tomorrow night at 8, and once again, Michael, thank you so much for joining us for a cup of tea.
Nō reo rete whānau. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Wendy, for the invitation.
You're welcome. Mā te wā, whānau.